Howdy, howdies. Sorry, we're
Yeah,
having technical difficulties, but we're back on it.
yeah.
Let's see.
It's my error. No one else's. I'm a newbie to this streaming lark, and I went and pressed the one button I shouldn't pressed. I pressed it. So
No
back
wor-
to you, Todd. Can you take us through your story?
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, my name is Todd Bachnis. I have a YouTube channel called the Carnivore Cure. 40 years old, and I've been carnivore for going on 16 months. And yeah, carnivore literally saved my life, gave me a second shot at it here. So I'm spreading the good word. So yeah, we're doing a little interview today, tell my story. So yeah.
Yeah. So obviously the early days I flashed up the picture of obviously when you were at probably your largest. I'm taking that's probably where you were. So what was it that the carnivore was the solution? How did you discover carnivore? What took you there?
Yeah, so let's see here real quick. Let me just pull up the picture for you so that people can see it. Because I know that you no longer have it, but I'll do it here on my end.
I should have it.
Oh,
This
okay.
one?
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I was just saying it was before, so I wasn't sure if people saw it on this live stream because there
Yeah, yeah.
wasn't. Okay. Yeah, so I was 715 to 750 pounds in. That was about 16 months ago. And I was on oxygen. I had a plethora of issues. So yeah, so that was kind of where this thing started. I was I was realizing, you know, well, circumstances put me in a spot where I was finally at rock bottom and ready, had to find something, and I found carnivore. Thank God that was an answer to prayer. But yeah, that turned everything around.
So
So
how did you discover carnivore? Was it something you already knew about? Is it something you stumbled across?
no, long story short, in 2017, my dad and my brother died. I got divorced. Life was pretty terrible. My health was bad. I had real lung breathing problems, asthma problems. I had reactive airway disease. Couldn't breathe very much. I'd been in the ICU, and then all this tragedy happened, and I was just to the point where I was not wanting to be around here anymore than the current conditions. But anyhow, I made a decision to stick around, and I was like, no matter what, I'm going to do something different. Like I got to get healthy, because now my family's, in a bad spot, and I didn't want to be somebody they're having to take care of. And that's where I was quickly, descending to. So I had to figure out something, and nothing I'd ever done worked. I'd lost 300 pounds twice in my life before and 200 pounds twice in my life before, but I always gained it back, and was always worse off when I did because it was always through calorie restrictive standard American diet bullcrap and um, starving basically. And I could do that for, longest I ever did was 17 months. Just didn't really eat much for 17 months, but then it always comes back, because you're not fixing the problem.
Yeah, I found when I lost weight, I'd end up being bigger than I was before I started the journey to lose the weight. So I think
Exactly.
that's, so you weren't expected to have the various surgeries that they do for people of your sort of
Oh,
size.
they wanted me to for my whole life because I was 600 pounds when I was 14, as I was saying before. But so yeah, they always wanted me to. But the thing was, my mom had gastric bypass surgery, and it failed. She gained all of her weight back, and I learned because you learn to eat through it. It doesn't heal the problem. Plus, I watched her have complications after that because now you can't absorb nutrients, and I'm literally watching her waste away right now as a result of that. She's 80 and she made it, but she's had a bad quality of life, and she can't eat enough, and she's literally just wasting away because she can't get nutrients. And my sister had the lap band surgery, and she ate past that. Now my sister's carnivore, and she has the best results she's ever had. She's 7 months carnivore, and she's doing fantastic. And she's like, she found out the same thing I did, that when you do carnivore, it's the proper human diet, and you no longer have to be subject to addictions and food addictions and eating disorders. So
See, yeah, it was interesting for me because I originally, when I went into carnivore, it was about my weight. I was concerned about my weight. My weight now is, if not secondary, it's thirdly my interest now, because it's the health benefits, the energy levels that I have, the clearness of thought that I have. I mean, but obviously I was 70 odd pounds probably heavier than I should have been. You know, you're talking multiples of that. Did you get the same benefit, the clarity and all that as you were doing it?
Good Lord. So the first thing that happened was, well, I'm going to step back just a little bit further because you asked me how I found Carnivore. And how I found Carnivore was I stopped drinking soda, did that for a year, but I stopped drinking sugar, but I started drinking diet soda thinking that that was better because I was still, in the standard American, circle of crap. But then I started doing after a year of not drinking any calories, I dropped a little bit of weight, not a bunch, but I did breathe a little bit better. And then I went into a weightlifter's diet, high protein, low fat, moderate carbohydrate. That was the most miserable I ever felt. I was so sick on that diet. It was miserable. But I did that for 14 months, lost like 37 pounds in 14 months. It was terrible. But I couldn't stay on it anymore. I thought I was going to fall off. And I'd really, because all the tragedy, I was like, this is, I did that thing where I was like, no matter what, this time I'm not quitting no matter what. So I didn't want to fall off because I was really determined not to fall off. But I couldn't eat any more dry chicken breast. I couldn't do it. It was so miserable. And I was so tired all the time and so depressed. And I mean, just suicidally depressed, full of anxiety. I couldn't do it anymore. So I thought the problem was that I was dry. The chicken was always dry and flavorless and miserable. And I just couldn't do it anymore. So I looked up online, how do you make chicken not dry? And I found the Guga Foods and sous vide everything. He does sous vide cooking. So long story short, the reason why that's important is because I ordered this sous vide machine. And as I was watching the videos to learn how to use it, Guga, the guy on the video, kept making ribeye seared in butter with this sous vide machine. And I was making me so hungry to watch this guy cook these steaks because all I'd had for 14 months was turkey sausage, ground turkey and chicken breasts and brown rice. And I was so wanting, like, everything, every ounce of my being wanted that ribeye when I saw it. So when I got the sous vide machine, I went and ordered 4 ribeyes from Costco. And I'm like, before I go back to this, I'm going to have 4 ribeyes. And so I ran the macros and I'm like, if I get rid of all the carbs and I just eat the ribeye seared in butter once a day, the macros won't, at least I won't go over on calories. It'll be too much fat, no carbohydrates, but the protein will be there and and the calories won't be too much. So I did that. And after the first day, I felt better than I had in 14 months. Like, I felt so good eating that ribeye seared in butter. I was like, whoa. And at first I thought it was like a placebo effect just because it was something new. So I was just happy to have,
Good,
yeah. But then the next day I ate another one and I had so much energy and I was happy. My mood was so much better. I was like, I felt like a dark cloud had been lifted. I started being happy and I was sleeping better. I had less anxiety. I had energy and I felt good. And so I did that for 4 consecutive days. And mind you, in 14 months of this terrible diet that had me just suicidally depressed, I'd only lost 37 pounds. And then in 4 days of just eating ribeyes and doing OMAD, I lost 14 pounds in 4 days. And now I know that it was inflammation, right? The rice and the carbohydrates that I thought was good was causing inflammation. But that went away. But what I didn't know then that I now know was the fat lifted some of the depression and anxiety. And I just felt so much better because we need the fat for our hormones. So I had to go Google it. And I'm like, how in the heck did eating ribeyes and fat, which are both of those things, ribeyes and butter, that's supposed to kill me. It's supposed to be the worst thing for me. How did eating that make me feel so much better and lose so much weight in 4 days when 14 months of this terrible diet that I've been on, that I hated being on, only lost 37 pounds and made me want to eat a bullet every day? Like, what is going on with this thing? So I researched it. And unfortunately for me at the time, I found keto. And so I if I would have just stayed with what I was doing and just been dumb and just ate ribeyes and butter every day, you'd be looking at a dude about 150 pounds, lighter than now and ripped by now. But instead, I went on this keto path and I looked up keto recipes and I got fat bombs and all the keto junk food that comes in with the keto diet, because it got infiltrated by big food. And so I was eating all the keto protein bars and keto shakes and fat bombs and Atkins, slim fast keto, anything with a keto label I thought was fair game because I was still stupid. And so I'm eating keto chaffles and keto pizzas and keto pasta and all this stuff. And it was dumb. It was all processed junk again,
Yeah.
but it was better than what I was doing. So I did have some results, but I never got rid of the cravings. I never had the results like I did on those first 4 days of just ribeye. I wish I would have put those two together. So, but it did get me researching keto. And that got me to where I found Jason Fung's book about diabetes, insulin resistance, fasting. So I was reading all his stuff. And one of the things that stood out to me there is I obviously knew that I was the poster child for insulin resistance in a
Yeah.
big way. And I know that fasting is one of the best ways to lower your fasted insulin set point, which is just fasting and time is all that really brings that down. Fasting, time, and healing. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do a 40-day fast. I was like, I'm doing this 40-day fast and I'm going to see just what happens to get my fasted insulin set point down. And I made it to day 21, but like an idiot, I jumped in with both feet kind of impulsively. And I didn't take any electrolytes or supplements. And I was also already malnourished from, 38 years plus of 37 years at that time plus of standard American diet.
Yeah.
And I got so depleted on potassium that it screwed up my blood plasma, which I didn't even know was a thing. And then my blood wouldn't hold red blood cells. So my red blood cell count dropped. And the reason why I'm bringing that up and why it's important is because my immune system was compromised. And that was 2021. And I caught COVID right then when my
Right.
immune system was down. So COVID went rampant. And not to get on the political side of things, but I did not agree with any of the COVID treatments or how it's, what was going on there. Because right then when I had it, a good buddy of mine that I had known for a long time was 38, pretty much same age as me, way healthy. He had COVID. He went in the hospital. He got the standard treatment in the ventilator, and he died 12 hours later. And he was dead. So I saw that just as I was going through it, and I'm like, I'm not going in the hospital. So I stayed at home, treated myself with uh, things that I thought was right, and that's all up for debate. But I made it through it. However, I got congestive heart failure, and I had COVID long after that. So my oxygen tanked. I was in real bad shape, and I started gaining even more weight now because my heart couldn't pump hard enough to get the fluid out of my body. My lymphatic system was even more compromised, and I ballooned up to the picture you seen in that green picture, and I had
Yeah.
oxygen. So
Yeah.
that's how I got
Yeah.
yep, right there. That's how I got there. That's why I was wearing the oxygen. And that's how this all started. In fact, just that actually was about 6 months down the road when I was looking better, believe it or not. But I had gone into the hospital because I fought it. I beat COVID, but I had congestive heart failure and I had problems. One of which is I would stop breathing when I was sleeping. I'd done that many, many times, but one night I apparently did it too long, and I just couldn't get my oxygen back up. It was in the 60%
Wow.
concentration, and I didn't know where I was. I was very confused, very sick. Something was really wrong. So I had to do the thing that I hate most in life. In fact, I'm pretty much sure I'd rather die than ever do it again, which was call the ambulance to get a 700-pound dude out of the house, which is not
No,
great.
no easy feat.
Nope.
So there's a photo you shared that's, and I'm going to put up now, is to me is the most incredible picture. So and it kind of emphasizes the difference in the two situations you were in. So how far apart were the two images, and then talk us through the story behind this image.
Yeah. So the images were actually about, I don't know, 13 months apart. The images were, but the progress of the images were only about 7 or 8 months apart. Like I had lost all that weight in about 7 to 8 months. And then I'll go into kind of the stall that happened. I did have a little bit more composition change, but that actually I wasn't even my lightest in this picture. I'm my lightest now, obviously, but in this picture, as I sat there in the black, I was like 490 pounds to 480 pounds.
Yeah.
But I had been down to 460 pounds, but then I did priming and I went back up to 480, which was fine because I lost 3 shirt sizes while I was doing that because I gained muscle and lean tissue and I healed, but I did put on weight. And your body, it's kind of like when you're gaining, you're not losing
Yeah.
exactly. You know, you can either cut or you can bulk, you know, you can't really do two. So that put me in a stall, which I'm now out of. But realistically, the weight and most of it was about just about 8 months of progress. Yeah.
See, you're talking about losing 200 pounds, and
Yeah.
I'm currently 193 pounds. So you have lost me in that period. And
In
I'm
that
6 foot
period.
tall and a decent sized lad, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I know it's crazy to think about, and it's crazy to think how somebody can get there. But I assure you that there's a lot of people that get there because it's not too hard when it creeps on 30 pounds a year, you know, a couple pounds a month, 30
Yeah.
pounds a year, 10 years
See,
go by, you know.
there's obviously a prejudice out there for people that are overweight. So when someone hits 700 pounds, there's an assumption that they're lazy. Let's be honest, they're lazy, good for nothings, and just eat cake all day long. Now, I've obviously spoke to you prior to we doing this, and you explained to me about how active you are and all this. So, do you want to? Because I'd like to put the record straight for people that make that accusation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying, I know that I'm not a lazy person. I've worked a full-time job since I was 14 years old. I work 50, 60 hours a week. I have, you know, like in my professional life, I have a little side business. I'm always doing something. Like I'm not happy if I'm not doing something. I get very depressed if I'm not doing something, but I'm not as active as I want to be. But it isn't because I've never wanted to be. It's because it's always been a real struggle, right? It's been a struggle to carry that around. And I always knew, I was like, there's just no way that I'm this lazy person that people are portraying me. I used to believe that for a long time. And then I realized that that's actually propaganda that the food companies look at this narrative, right? So the food companies first tell you that this is all calories in, calories out. And the reason why they want you to believe that, so yes, calories have a place, but they need you just to see that narrative. And the reason why is because if you think it's all about quantity of calories and energy expenditure, then you won't have to pinpoint the difference between calories. Like you can say that Coca-Cola and cornflakes is the same as, you know, steak or lean chicken or even broccoli, whatever. They want you
Mm,
to not distinguish between the calories. They firstly and foremost want to say that they want to disregard the fact that nutrition matters and building blocks matter, and they want to push off their poison, their addictive crap, as being the same value as all those other things to be on equal playing field. First of all, that's the first thing they want you to see. And then that way, when it fails, because they're doing an impossible thing, they're telling you to go restrict how much Coca Cola and cornflakes and Pop Tarts and Taco Bell you eat,
yeah,
because that should be easy, right? It's only designed to be 8 times more addictive than cocaine, but that should be really easy so that when you fail, because you will, because you're not only taking a drug and you're trying to moderate a drug that's 8 times more addictive than cocaine, you're also not putting nutrients in your body, and your brain screaming for nutrients, right? Because
yeah,
you are deficient. So they know they've created this impossible environment that they can now shift the blame on you. Because now when you go in there, every time they go, well, how many calories did you eat? Oh, you ate 3,000 calories today? Well, our TDDE calculator says you're only supposed to eat 21 calories. How do you expect to lose weight if you can't control yourself? You know, and they
yeah.
play this stupid narrative, but it gets better, right? Then these bastards come around and they go, you know what we're going to do? We're going to create fat positivity, right? So now I can go to Todd and I can say, Todd, You deserve to be, it's your right to weigh 700 pounds. You're big and beautiful and you're not lazy at all. You're a great person and it's your right to be dying and have a shitty quality of life. Just don't look at what we're doing to you. Whatever you
Yeah,
do, don't look at what you're doing to. It's Carl's fault because he noticed that you're 700 pounds, that dirty
yeah,
bastard. You make sure that you know that you're big and beautiful. I mean, talk about play us like idiots, right? To
yeah,
sit
yeah,
there and tell us you did. I mean, put anything else in that place and say, Carl, you deserve, it's your right to have cancer, Carl. It is
yeah,
your right to have cancer. And anybody that wants you to not have cancer because they say it's unhealthy, well,
yeah,
what a bunch of bigots, Carl. What a
yeah.
bunch of
Well,
bigots.
and the amazing thing I found that when I was morbidly obese, everyone saw me as this happy-go chappy. The minute I take action and I lose weight quite drastically, and I did lose, 60 odd pounds within 4 months and have carried on losing from there. Everyone suddenly becomes a doctor and is worried about my health and what I'm eating. I'm like, you didn't give a shit when I was nearly 20 stone. You couldn't give a monkeys.
I got to tell you a
So,
story now. I got to tell you a story. So I go when I come. So I had to get hauled into the hospital by the ambulance, and 7 firefighters show up, and it's like a big embarrassing deal. However, I was so stubborn, I didn't let them lift me. I walked to that damn ambulance, and I got there, and I climbed in. They had to give me a push, but I climbed in because I wasn't getting carried anywhere because I didn't want to because I hate that so bad. I'd rather have died having a heart attack getting there than getting lifted into that thing. But it was not pretty, and it hurt, but whatever. Anyways, I got there. We got to the hospital. I was there for 11 days. They sent me a bill for $38,000 to pump fluid off me. Told me I had congestive heart failure.
jeez.
I had COVID lung. They didn't think it was ever going to cure. And then they sent me out with a stack of paperwork of all these appointments that I now needed to make because now I had a pulmonologist and I had a cardiologist and I needed a sleep study and I had all these things. I mean, they must have just been going, "Oh boy, he's quite the customer now," because they set me up for every test under the planet of people that I now had to go to. Now, I'd seen all this play out with my dad and my brother and my mom, and you know what I noticed was I watched my dad from the time he was like 38 to the time he died when he was like 71 or 72. He went to all those things, came back with more drugs, and his quality of life slowly deteriorated. His medicine pile got bigger. He never got healthier, and everything his whole life got revolved around what doctor's appointment he was going to next, what test he was taking next for 30 years, plus. So I just came home and I was like, I'm not doing any of this. And I threw that crap on my desk and I'm like, I'm not going to any of these. I'm going to figure this out with diet and I'm going to pray. And I did seek God, a bunch during that time, and then that's when I changed Carnivore. But what I want to tell you that pertains to what you just said was 6 months later, I was down 205 pounds, and I was off oxygen. My resting heart rate went from 107 beats a minute to 68 beats a minute. My oxygen saturation went from 88% well on 6 liters of oxygen to 96% off oxygen. My depression
Wow.
and anxiety was completely gone. I was completely mobile again. I could, go wherever I wanted. I could stand up. I was super happy. My skin was better. My lymphedema was exponentially better. Just all these problems that I had. So I decided to make my 6 month checkup with my cardiologist and tell him the good news. Also, I had stopped taking all the medicine, the gout medicine, the blood pressure medicine, all the heart pills and the statins and all the bull crap. I stopped taking all of it, and I wasn't on any medication. And I was just the picture of health. I mean, the healthiest I'd
Yeah.
been in forever. I go and I talk to my cardiologist. I tell him all the improvements. He sees it. I tell him everything, and the only thing that son of a bitch said was, "I'm worried about your diet."
Oh my God, that's so unbelievable. Well, it's not unbelievable because it is what happens. It's incredible. So
I
before we go
snapped.
across to see any of the comments on the side, because obviously this is a live cam, and obviously we want to let people ask questions, etc.
Yeah, and
You
sorry, I
mentioned
can't.
about the
Well, let me
yeah.
see. I don't see any comments on my. Oh, there
I've
they
got
go.
some. I'm going to flash them out in a second.
Okay.
When you talk about addiction, I've always pointed out that, with the exception probably of gambling, most addictions are plant-based. So if you look at alcohol, tobacco, all the various different other drugs. So go on, Todd.
I was a gambling addict. I'm not joking. That was my
So that
one.
was affected as well then.
Yeah, it went away. It completely went away. So I had it pretty much under control, but it was always on my back. It was always there, and that whenever I think honestly, I think all addictions and compulsive behaviors are, at least in my experience, were from anxiety.
Yeah.
Because what happened to me when I was on carnivore about the well, it was October, so it was October 26th, 10th month mark. I'm picking that date because I chewing tobacco, nicotine for 26 years, and I was chewing basically it would be the equivalent of smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day for 26 years. And I quit cold turkey, not because I wanted to. My body told me I didn't want nicotine anymore. I did not want it. It started making my teeth feel funny. I had started losing the craving for the nicotine. And I quit cold turkey last October 26th, and I haven't had a craving for it or touched it since. And that's when I started thinking about things. I no longer had a gambling addiction. I had no propensity to gamble. I no longer was compulsive. I no longer was addicted to nicotine, caffeine, sugar, or eating, period, even hunger. I have zero addictions, and I have had and I have zero compulsive nature now. And I had that my entire life, on all of those things, on all fronts, and it's gone.
That's incredible. So I'm just going to go over to some of the comments. So your partner in crime, I've seen a number of your posts together. So she's driving
Hey,
along,
Lindy.
been listening in. So well done, Limitless Linda. I'm a big fan of yours, by the way, Linda. So and then I'll show this one. This is George. He's my partner in crime. I call him the puppet master because he's very clever. He's a very active carnivore. He's had an amazing story, but he always manages to get me doing things now on the carnivore because he'd rather get me to do it. So I call him the puppet master. So welcome, George. Thanks for joining us and good to see you. Then we've got LEM. I assume she's one of your people, is she?
Yeah. Hey, Ellie, I appreciate you.
So she's a top girl, and there's a nice one here. Keep the story going, Todd. You know, and we're going to get plenty of it out tonight, so I want to do it. But all you guys in the feed, please ask any questions you like. Oh, I like this one. Oh, love this. Thank you, Trina. That's fantastic. Thank you, Trina. Right?
Make a joke and say but she was clearly talking about my accent.
Yeah. So I'm British from Irish parents, so I've got a bit of a mixed bag of an accent. So I'm not hello, ding dong, how are you doing, old China? Waff. You know, as a good old Boris would do. I'm more of a hybrid of sort of a British Irish accent. So thank you for your comments. And there's a fantastic. I've Metabolic Paramedic. He's fantastic. I've followed a number of his stuff. Great guy. Good evening. Nice. Thank you for welcome to come here. So I'll go back to. Whoops, sorry. This is a bit new to me, guys. So I'm trying my best to do it right. And Todd's doing very well to holding my hand in every stage. So please put some questions in, and we'll quite happily answer. I'm sure Todd's got plenty to go. So yeah. So the addiction bit, Todd, I think that is interesting. It's all plant-based. You don't hear anyone being addicted to steak that I'm aware of and having to be weaned off it, because I think it's and then the irony is it's the best medicine. So
For sure. That is. And it's just, man, if people would just try it and can see it from this side. But when you find out, first of all, not eating fat and protein, by default, you're going to eat a lot of carbohydrates. When you eat a lot of carbohydrates, you're going to have a lot of insulin responses. Insulin is an incredibly, aggressive hormone that's going to cause insulin resistance, and it's going to cause hormone imbalance. One of the first things that insulin does is it blocks leptin sensitivity. Leptin sensitivity is your satiation hormone, your first line of defense on appetite control. You lose leptin sensitivity. It's crazy when you get it back because you're like, what is this? What is this crazy thing that I'm experiencing when you start to heal? But so that takes away your appetite control, which is why we all start to eat until we feel full until we feel satiated like we're supposed to. And then also we're just not taught that, we eat for two reasons. We eat for fuel, but we also eat for nutrients. We eat for building blocks that our body needs to run and repair itself. Well, I wasn't taught about the building blocks or the nutrients. And that's because of the propaganda where they tell us that calories are equal no matter what they come from, and they don't speak of the building blocks. But imagine that your body's screaming for protein, collagen, amino acids, all these things, and you keep eating apple juice and bananas, right? You're just
Yeah.
getting empty calories, and your body's like, it's not what I'm calling for. So it's going to take all those calories, it's going to spike your insulin, it's going to work really fast to store it as fat, and then it's going to tell you to eat again. It's going to say, no, we need that protein, we need the food, we need the nutrients that we're short on. And we just keep going into that cycle, you know? So it's just, to me, that's the most important message I want to get out there. And that's what I wasn't taught. And that's what I now know. And it makes so much sense. You know, they're so easy to see now. So, yeah.
Well, we've got some questions in, so I'll fire one across to you. So, Todd, have you won against the carbs and the other addictions now?
It is. I'm going to steal Lindy's line, Limitless Lindy. She coined this phrase, but she always says, I have an off switch now. I do. I don't. Carnivore gives you an off switch. I have not had a carbohydrate that I haven't planned on. So the only carbohydrates that I get is this is not like something, this isn't like an addiction thing or something that I can't give up. I can give up anything I want now and it doesn't bother me. But things that I've added back into my diet that I find help me, which is just my personal decision, is I eat Tabasco hot sauce because it's vinegar based, and I find that the vinegar in the Tabasco helps emulsify fat, and so it turns fat into energy for me quicker, and I like that because I like the spicy profile. Also, it appears that when you pickle things or ferment things, vegetables, that it neutralizes the oxalates, so you don't have a big oxalate problem. Like I don't get inflamed or have like an immune response or an allergy response to it or a histamine response. So so basically I do that with hot sauce and the pickled jalapenos. Those are the two things I put back in my diet for the same reasons, for basically the vinegar and the spice. So that's the only carbohydrates that I've eaten in 16 months. That and eggs have some carbohydrates in them. So I have zero craving for any carbohydrates. I just went the other day because I just got my license back after 4 years because I'm finally healthy enough to be behind the wheel of a car again. And I went before this, I used to give my dog Dairy Queen. She wanted every Sunday I get her an ice cream cup at Dairy Queen. And I just went there for the first time on Tuesday. And I was surprised how I wasn't even remotely, like the stuff didn't even smell good now. You know what I mean? Like there was no craving there at all.
So before I get the next question up, because I heard you talking about this, I think it was Limited Linda, and about the vinegar, because I didn't realize that vinegar is or isn't, but obviously since you've said it, I'm enjoying vinegar again, because I'm British, I used to love fish and chips, good blimey, Mary Poppins, and I used to love the fish and chips, and the smell of the vinegar was amazing. So I've actually started reintroducing vinegar now, and I'm blatant, if this doesn't work, it's your fault. So
I think it's amazing myself.
Yeah. So obviously we've got the Dairy Queen here. So obviously she's saying about rolling with the fast going. So how's it going?
Yeah, she's so they're going beautifully. So I just finished a 6-day fast last Saturday, and then on Tuesday I started a 84-hour fast, and I use the Life Fasting app to keep track, but I am tell you in 2 seconds. I am 74 hours, 9 minutes, and 18 seconds into a 84-hour fast, and they are so easy. And I mean,
84-hour fast.
yeah, and like I can do it standing on my head now. These are the easiest, and it's because don't fast if you have to white knuckle. You got to prime and get nourished first. But once your body's nourished and you don't have any deficits, you're not low on protein, collagen, amino acids, fatty acids, omega 3s, D3, K2. Once you get healed and you get nourished, then you can fast, and it's the easiest thing ever.
So will you explain what you mean by priming then? Because, like myself, I accidentally fast. I will fast until I feel hungry. So I might go 24 hours. Once or twice I've done 36, but never really beyond that. So tell us about the priming. What do you mean by that?
Well, okay. So let me tell you a little bit about how it evolved for me. So when I started Carnivore, I went straight BBB&E. So bacon, beef, butter, eggs, salt.
Yeah.
That was it. And water only. Well, when I started doing that, just like I said, I wasn't used to having leptin sensitivity. Leptin sensitivity is your satiety hormone. Well, you drop your insulin, you start getting your satiety hormone back. We all do. And we're not used to what that feels like or its full strength. So our first instinct for most carnivores is we start to undereat and we don't even know it. So I went straight into OMADs, 1 meal a day. So I was fasting 23 hours out of every day. Anyhow,
Yeah.
I thought, fantastic. This is perfect. I only have to make a mess once a day. It doesn't break the bank. This is super easy. And I had this satiety hormone, so it was easy. Well, lost a lot of weight. That was good. But I also never got nourished. And so on month 7, my metabolism just tanked. It just tanked. All of a sudden, I was super tired. I didn't have that carnivore energy anymore. And I wasn't losing any weight. I was depressed again. I started getting anxiety again. It all came, not back near as bad as it was, but I lost that initial real high energy that I was having. And that's when I found SPG, because Limitless Lindy, who's lost over 500 pounds, she did that with the SPG, which is Bella, the Steak and Butter gal. She has a group called the Steak and Butter Gang, and they do a protocol there called priming and fasting. And their thing is fasting is absolutely good to get lean, which we all know this works because we watch bodybuilders do bulks and cuts, right? And so, and it mimics our natural, our basically natural heritage, where we would feast and we would hunt, right? So you'd get a kill, you would eat for a few days, you'd pack it on, and then you would fast for a few days, and that mimics that cut. So long story short, I went through about 4 to 5 months fasting, and that's when, feasting or priming, they call it. And that's when I started healing. So my eyes healed up, my lymphedema healed up like 90%. That's when I stopped smoking. My body said, you don't want to, or not smoking, chewing, but the tobacco. That's when I stopped taking the tobacco. That's when I noticed that my all my compulsive nature and my addiction to gambling was gone. All these things were healed up and gone. And that wasn't actually until I ate the food and I got satiated. And that did stall me out for a little while. I gained about 20 pounds during that, but I lost 3 shirt sizes while I was doing that, because that's a composition change. It turned into healthy tissue. But I didn't know that. So all this time, I didn't mean to prime for 5 months. I meant to prime for like 4 to 6 weeks. But then I would try fasting again. That's one of the tests. And the fasting wouldn't go good. I wasn't ready to fast. But what it did was, when I was doing OMAD, I was only eating like a pound to a pound and a quarter of meat a day. And I thought, oh, well, there's no way I could fast or prime and eat all this food. Well, after 5 weeks of priming, your metabolism kicks in and your body gets just ravenous for meat. And I was eating 6 to 7 pounds of meat for like 4 to 5 months before my body healed enough and everything got satiated and nourished. And now I'm back down to eating like a pound and a half to 2 pounds of food, right around between 2,600 and 3,300 calories a day. However, it's because the reason why the calories are even that high with that little bit of food is because I now do a 2-to-1 fat to protein ratio. So I add a lot of tallow to everything that I'm eating to make sure for every 1 gram of protein I'm eating, I'm getting 2 grams of beef fat specifically. And I feel the best I ever had. And that's made fasting so simple. And now when I fast, I mean, in the last 3 weeks, I've lost 40 pounds because I came out of winter. I'm doing the 2-to-1 fat ratio, and my body's now ready to release more weight again. It held on to it all winter, and which I think was just the winter cycle. Your body doesn't like to lose weight in the winter. And now
It naturally
fasting.
holds on to it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
So while you're on fasting, there's another question coming. I'll come to Champion Within in a minute because she's asked a question prior, but this ties in with what you're saying. So there's a question here from my man. Right.
Yep. That's what I use.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you check your ketosis before you fast, or are you in ketosis most of the time? I'm in ketosis most of the time now, but I was not until. So this is a fun thing. That's a fun thing I found out. That's why I love this community and having these talks, because this was super fun. I found it out talking to a guy named Craig. But I have lymphedema, right, and it's about 90% healed. But that means that I have a compromised lymphatic system. Well, the fat that we burn, the stored fat we burn, travels through the lymphatic system, which means that basically I have a little bit of a barrier to entry of efficient stored fat to burn, right? I'm still working on healing that. So what happened was I was having a heck of a time getting into ketosis. Like for a long time, even when I was losing a lot of weight, I was not deep into ketosis at all. Then I started priming and I was never into ketosis when I was priming, just never. And finally, I figured out why. And here's what happens, especially if you have a compromised lymphatic system. This, I believe, is true. I don't have a study on it or anything, but this makes the most sense that fits what happened to me. When you have a compromised lymphatic system and you start doing carnivore, the weight was coming off at first because my body was still healing. But then what ends up happening is the metabolic process in my body for gluconeogenesis healed faster than my lymphatic system did. So the process, the path of least resistance for my body to make energy actually became turning excess protein into glucose and burning it rather than burning stored fat. Mm-hmm. So I had to be very careful now, where I didn't at first. I didn't have to. I could eat 150 grams of protein in a meal and I would not have an insulin spike. But all of a sudden, as my body healed and that process for gluconeogenesis healed and my hormones healed, it started turning the excess protein into glucose. Where before I wasn't having that problem. I might just pass it or whatever, but I was not having that problem before. So in order to fix that, that's exactly why I went to a 2-to-1 fat ratio. And then I also started limiting my portions per meal I played with it with this thing and how I felt. But I now know that I have to stay 70 grams of protein or lower. If I go over that, I'll have a little bit of an insulin spike. I'll turn the excess protein. I can only absorb about 70 grams of protein per meal for me personally, where I'm at now. So that made all the difference.
And do you have to adjust that as you're losing weight? Because obviously your body is constantly in a state of flux, really, isn't it?
It is. And also another thing, do I have to change that? Well, when my body's maybe eating damaged cells and stuff too, because it's making up, it's through autophagy and stuff. I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that. I'm going to watch it, which is now why I pay so close attention to my ketones. But what I can tell you is before I lowered my protein to 70 grams a day, I would blow like a 4 on this thing, which you got to be between 10 and 40 to be in ketosis, on this thing. And I'd blow like a 4. I had 3. I mean, I was, even when I would fast at 48 hours into a fast, I'd blow like an 8. I wasn't even into ketosis after 40 hours because I did not have I was not really that fat adapt because I think I'd been under eating fat the whole time. After I started bumping up, and I was too, just to put this out there, I was eating a lot of butter, but for me, butter does not work like beef fat does. Tallow is like king for me for energy. The tallow has a incredible healing, incredibly healing for me. But anyhow, now I have no problem. Like this morning, I woke up and this was blowing like a 53, and I am 70 some hours into a fast. But even on any given day, I can now eat that fat meal and I'll come blow like a 23, 24 on here. And so, yeah, I'm always in ketosis now, but it gets really high when I'm fasting. And the fasting is incredibly easy now.
That's what amazes me. So there's a nice comment about you getting your driver's license back. So well done to you. And
thanks so much.
You're now just a danger on the road for the rest of us.
I am.
So
I said, watch told everybody get off the sidewalks.
That's it. Yeah, stay clear of them. Yeah, watch out for the man in the big black hat.
Exactly.
So so Todd, are you able to exercise much? If so, what is it that you do?
I am. And now, well, I don't know. I don't know about much. To me, it's much because I went from being stuck in a chair. So to me, it's much. But so I got a nice Rogue weight bench right behind my computer here. And I got 5-pound to 30-pound free weights. And I do hammer curls. I do skull crushers. And I do incline fly presses. I also got a shake plate, which is one of those vibration plates you stand on. I do 30 sets of 30. I do 5 sets of 30 squats on that thing while it's vibrating to help pump my lymphatic system and get that out. I got resistance bands and I do stretching exercises with the resistance bands to loosen up. And then my brother is a little bit insane and he bought me this medieval contraption called the hit axle. And so I use that now It's hard to explain, but it's like you're rowing an axle on your
Right.
arms, and it works your shoulders and your core. And I do that every day now. And then I walk on the treadmill, but I'm about to start walking outside because it's getting really nice outside. And I'm really excited to get some more sun and walk outside this year.
Oh, very, 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 very cool. So, got another question here for you. Where are we? Here we go. Another question here. So, you obviously showed the little ketone meter. Do you want to tell them the name, the description, the brand?
A good idea. Here. Literally this thing says ketone meter, but on the back here,
Original.
on the back here it says ketone breath meter. It says model number is K as in kite, E as in Edward, T as in Thomas, 5100. And that's all it says on here. I can tell you I got it on Amazon, and the last time that I looked, which was a friend of mine wanted one, and they were out of stock. But this is the one that I use. I use this because if you guys watch my Sunday show, 700 plus and counting, Michael, that's on there with us, one of our co-hosts, he uses this. And so that's why I got this one, and he trusts it. So, yeah. And
Okay,
I'll put
keep the questions coming, guys. It's really, really good. Keep the questions coming.
keep a close up for that so you can see what it looks like. That way, if you can spot it online.
Yeah, right. So obviously, you've lost a lot of weight, and you've maintained that weight loss. A question that I'm going to ask, because I had not as bad an issue of it, is skin. So in terms of the loose skin, that you're losing weight so drastically in the way you do. What's your situation? Because I was fortunate, after a period of time, a lot of my skin has tightened. But yourself, you've lost me weight-wise. That's quite a lot of skin.
Yeah, I could reupholster that couch behind me with the loose skin I have, like no problem. So yeah, there's not enough years in my life and autophagy that's going to eat that skin up, right? So I got to get it cut off. But what the question is when? And I have many plans, but I've studied it a lot. I've talked to Dr. Baker about it. You want to be as lean as possible when you get the skin surgery because it's less likely to scar.
Right.
Plus you want to as healthy as you can have. You want your lymphatic system healthy because if you have a compromised lymphatic system, it dumps the lymphatic fluid that's supposed to dump into your blood to go to your liver and get filtered out of your body ends up back in the body and being stored, and that's some kind of dirty fluid that can cause infections when you cut out that much skin. So originally I had plans to get it done the winter, this December of 2024, but after researching it, I decided I'm trying to make adult decisions now and not get in a hurry, right? And so I think I'm going to wait until 2025 so that I can give myself the best shot. Because if you're not lean enough when you get it cut off, everything once it heals, it settles wrong, so you can have like cross-eyed nipples going.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to get leaner, but that's the plan for the winter of 2025, definitely.
And do you have a target weight for that?
So I don't know. Okay. Can you put that picture of me up with it has the overlay?
The double picture, yeah?
Yeah, the double picture. So as of today, I'm 200. I wish I was 200. I'm 458 pounds. But in this skinnier picture of me in the black, even right there, I was 490 pounds. Now, most people say that I don't look 490 pounds in that picture. I don't think that I look like other people who look 490 pounds in that picture. And the only reason why I bring this up, it's all semantics and I don't care. But for me trying to figure out, you can drop that picture now. For me trying to figure out I want to get to about 24%, 20 to 24% body fat, which is seems to be a pretty healthy, just by watching, a pretty healthy fat ratio for carnivores. Like if you're not carnivore, like closer to 18% is better, but carnivores seem to look better and very, very fit, very, very solid, very lean looking at about 24%. Take Raymond Nazow from SBG Gang. He's got abs at, he's like ripped at 24% body or 23 point something. So that's more the goal, but I don't know what my weight is actually going to be. And I also have to take in consideration that I'm going to have 40 to 50 pounds of skin that's going to come off. And then also carnivores. I'm just watching this now. I'm an admin at the Steak and Butter Gang, and we watch people go through their journey. And if you take the TDE calculator, that those body weights are based on a metabolically sick population that are malnourished. So carnivores tend to weigh a fair amount heavier because they have more dense bones and muscle structure, and they're more fit, they're healthier, they're dense. So I personally think that when I'm going to be looking toward it when I get somewhere around 300 to 280 pounds, knowing that when they take the skin off, that's going to put me right around, 230 to 250, somewhere in there. I think that's where my range is going to be, somewhere between. And I'm going to reconvene and see what that looks like when I get there, but that's kind of my plan.
So, because this kind of ties in with what you're saying, then someone's asking the question, what's life going to look like 5 years from now for you, Todd?
I want to see how young I can grow. So basically that's my new plan is I just want to get, I'm going to have to get 3 skin surgeries because it's too much to do at once. So I want to do that. And then I want to, I want to grow my YouTube channel because this needs to get out there. Like, I get people that say you're spreading lies for money. Well, full disclosure, I've made $62.36 off of YouTube since I've been doing this. I mean, I am killing it, baby. So none of this has to do with money. I've spent so much more money than that getting this word out because this is killing. I watched it kill my brother. I believe it killed my dad. I watched this killing my mom right now. This environment's killing our friends, killing our families, and we're told that it's all normal, that everything's okay here. There's nothing to see here. Just take drugs. And so in 5 years, I hope that I'm making some sort of impact on making people so healthy that the drug companies are going bankrupt. That's what I'm hoping, or at least starting to, making a difference in their bottom line.
And that's great attitude to have. I think that's awesome. So you talk about the scarring side of it. I revealed to you before, I had skin cancer and I had 18 stitches in my forehead. And as you can see, there is not even a mark on it. I had 18 stitches across here.
That's impressive.
Had a melanoma taken out. So, and I think a lot of that was the bone broth and my skin just healed amazingly to the point that when I went back a week later, they went to take the stitches out and they said, why did you leave it so long? And I said, what are you talking about? And they said, well, this is 2 or 3 weeks, two and a bit weeks worth of skin heal. And I went, no, I had it last Friday. They wouldn't believe me. They wouldn't believe me. Yeah. So that's awesome. So there's another question here. So it's about fasting, which is a question I'm quite interested in here because, as I said to you, I'm an accidental faster, as and when I'm not hungry, etc. Where you're very focused. Obviously, you talked about priming, but this is a very, very good question. So concerns with longer fasting, then, and dialing down on your
anymore. And that's a fair question because before I was nourished, that was a real problem. But now I know exactly what it feels like. Like this is so good when you start playing with this, even if the fast does dial it down, you need to know what it feels like for your metabolism to tank on you. Because then you can watch out for it. So when I set a fast, I have a goal that I want to hit, but I'll abort it now if I get to 36 hours in and it's wrong and I feel my metabolism going. I realize that something's off. It can be stress. It could be that I didn't have enough fat in my diet before I started the fast. It could be that I'm coming down with something, or it could be that you're oxalate dumping. What we don't understand is that our bodies store all those nasty oxalates from all the American food that we ate in our fat cells. And sometimes our body's dealing with it. Sometimes when you just wake up and you feel weird and there's no reason for it, and you might get a little skin rash or you feel a little itchy or you get a little inflamed. A lot of time it's your body healing something and dumping some oxalates. So long story short is yes, if I only looked at a timeline, like I'm going to do 6 days. Well, I wouldn't have done 6 days if on 4 days, if I started getting brain fog, if I started not sleeping well, if my energy level had dropped, if I was starting to think about food too much and I was starting to have cravings. If that happened, I would have aborted it and went and ate meat and fat right away. So the question that really it's a muscle that you work out. And you know, I didn't start at 6-day fast, and I mean, I technically started at a 21-day fast, and that was stupid, made me sick. But then I went back to the SBG, and I learned, and I got primed, and then I learned how to fast. And the first thing you go back to is like OMADs, and then you go to 36-hour fast, then 48, then 72, and it's a muscle you work out, and you train your body to fast. And now I don't have that issue. You know, I'm really toying with, after I get back from Texas, back from Hack Your Health. I'm really toying with doing a 40-day fast, because I've always wanted to do a 40-day fast and I've never hit it. So,
okay. So I think this is a very good assumption, really. So, you know, it's a common, I think I've discovered since I've known you in the short period of time, you're very passionate and you're fantastic at getting the message over. So I'm really impressed. And someone's just come up based on like English 3 intros and used to, sorry. Yeah. So this is 13 stitches in my thumb. I was around 8 years old and the scar was gone. I didn't realize. Honestly, this diet is fantastic for skin. It's to do with the collagen levels within the food, etc., isn't it? So
absolutely. Well,
yeah,
it's just so healing. It's, you know, it is. I love Ken Berry, how he calls it the PhD, you know, the proper human diet.
Yeah, that's absolutely spot on. So here's a question for you. Do you think your mum will try carnivore?
I've been working on her for over a year. She's got Parkinson's, she's got dementia, she's got a brain tumor, she had gastric bypass, and she's honestly, she's basically just given up. She's too much. She's a carb addict, and I put her on it, but right now she's throwing a fit. And I finally just said, all right, you can eat what, you know, she's like, I'm 81. I should be able to eat what I want to eat. You know, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm dying. So let me eat what I want to eat. So I said, that's really what you want. And I threw up my hands, said, you eat what you want. But I tried. But the problem is, and this is why I'm so mad at bariatrics, you know, this push for bariatric surgery being the magic pill, is because the problem I was having is she can only eat 4 to 6 ounces, maybe 8 ounces of food a day when it's meat, because it's satiating. She doesn't have the stomach for it. But if it's sugar, if it's juices and sugar and pasta and bread, well, she can eat double that. So when she eats carnivore, she will not get enough fat in to make her healthy. So I just had to let her go and do her own thing. And so now, I mean, it's gonna take her soon. I know it will, because I know how sick she gets when she's on this diet. I've been doing this for 6 years with her, and I've had her on keto and off, on carnivore and off. And every time she goes down this path, she goes downhill, and I mean, very, very fast. And she's gotten so much frailer from not being able to eat enough food. That's what I'm saying. She can't absorb enough and she can't eat enough. So it's like, what do you do? Her stomach's gone.
So it becomes a vicious circle, really, in that circumstance, with the reducing the ability to eat, and then therefore she can't eat the good stuff to get the benefit from it. That's a nasty situation.
Exactly. Yep.
So you know, you're incredibly passionate. So what for you, carnivore wise, and the carnivore cure, what do you think we as a group of carnivores need to do? We need to get ourselves together, I know, and get the message out there. But to me, that's not all of it. What do you think we should organize ourselves to get ourselves structured in improving things?
I don't want to talk, you know, I don't like bringing politics into anything, but we have to vote right too. If they're attacking our meat, if they're attacking our, you know, regulating our food, if they're pushing all these stupid drugs and vaccines and mRNA vaccines, you know, and I know this is all blacklist topics and stuff, but they're trying to put it in our meat right now, right? And that's why I'm talking about it. They're trying to put it in our beef. They're trying to regulate all this crap. They're trying to put, you know, lab grown meat in there. And we have to, you know, we have to vote against that. We have to know that this is coming, and know it's no, I'm not going to get off in the weeds, but it's no accident that they attack ruminant animals, cows, the most, and they happen to be the most healthy things that we need to be vital and be healthy and be self-sufficient and be strong. So we got to vote right to make sure that we stay aware. And the biggest way we vote is with our dollar. Stop spending money on garbage. Stop promoting people that have agendas. Know who you're voting for. with your dollar and start supporting your local farmers. Get this meat out there. But then, as far as spreading the word, I got to give a shout out to Carrie Mann at Homestead How and Healing Humanity and Adam at Carnivore Today. They're doing a awesome work on creating the Healing Humanity documentary that's coming up, and yeah, it's going to be incredible. So I'm going to get to see those guys in Austin, but support Healing Humanity and Carrie Mann at Homestead How and Adam if you can. That's what we really need to get out there. And these, and we've got to support the good doctors like Ken Berry and Sean Baker and Dr. Chafee. Those guys are heroes, knowing that they're kind of committing career suicide in the medical field by denouncing drugs and promoting health. We got to support those guys and stand up for them so that we can get rid of the propaganda, so that we can actually have real doctors, real scientists instead of drug dealers treating us with, the sick care system.
Well, I'm so impressed on my own journey, as I've mentioned to you before, that I've decided to self-fund me doing a PhD around the carnivore diet. I'm trying to fine-tune the subject matter of it, but it's going to be based on the impact of the carnivore, because I can't believe what a game changer it's been for me. I represented my country through sport, and I was a very fit guy, and I'm 58 years old, and I'm fitter now than when I was an 18-year-old, and I'm doing no training whatsoever, and I'm still building up the odd pimple. So, I'm amazed by this story that's going on. So there's another good question here for you, Todd. So, any exotic meat dishes on your bucket list?
So I'm in on my bucket list. I've had Rocky Mountain oysters. I don't know if you know what those are. Those are bull testicles. So I've had those.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I've had those, but actually that was before carnivore because I'm in cattle country. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I was laughing because I didn't know what ruminant animals there were, and I looked up on the ruminant animal chart, and giraffe is like,
Yeah, not quite the. I've not seen it on the menu yet.
But to be honest with you, I'm perfectly happy with beef, and I like my two favorite meats this isn't even by taste or preference as far as palatability. It's by how it makes me feel. And the two meats that make me feel the best are red beef and raw salmon. Those two meats make me feel outstanding. So that's what I eat. And also, I now don't care about what things taste like, because I found out through doing this that if they make you feel good, your body will start to crave it, and within just a few weeks you'll like the taste of it. So
yeah. So brilliant. So so what's the definite no? What's not to be on the list? Sugar's going to be the obvious one, but what is, in your view, a definite no?
well, I mean, I have a long list of that. It's like seed oils are right there with sugar for me. So seed oils, and then right next to that is artificial sweeteners. And I know a lot of people hate to hear that because artificial sweeteners, they really wreak havoc on your gut microbiome, and it can set you back, and it can also keep the carb freedom. You keep you from having carb freedom. So those are certain things. But then when it comes down to it, the very next one, which is also gonna maybe upset some people, but it's dairy. For me, I can't do dairy. Dairy's a stalling food. Dairy makes me retain fluid. It makes me have cravings. It makes me eat more. Then when I eat more, I have gluconeogenesis. So I have spiked insulin. That's a whole problem. And then after that, it's pretty much anything with more than like two ingredients in it. Like I don't know why we have to have so many ingredients in it. So I will use the occasional spice like rosemary or thyme, but I make sure it's just one ingredient and that it's freeze dried organic, and then I don't have any problems with it.
So
I do
have you tried? You say the dairy. Have you tried the raw milk as well?
the raw milk I haven't tried. I just because I haven't, I wasn't driving, so I couldn't get out everywhere to try to scope the area to find it, and it's not easy to find here. So I haven't tried raw milk, but I tried pretty much everything else, and I just don't eat it. I use it as a treat. Like it's my cheat. So like
Yeah.
for instance, I love prime rib with horseradish cream sauce. And so during Christmas or whatever, I'll let myself, it's just minced a horseradish with sour cream, and I'll add that to my prime rib, and that's like my splurge.
Okay, right. So I just seen this in brilliant. God, I knew there's going to be more than one of us with PhDs. We're going to become the authority in the subject. I would happily work with you and help you at all on that one, my friend. No problems at all there.
I need more
So
of
we
you
have
guys.
another question here. Are you a water only guy, or do you put anything in it,
Yeah.
salt or anything else?
So this is the wildest thing that I'm drinking. I'm drinking it today because I ran out of everything else. But this is the bubbly, and it's lime flavored. But this probably isn't great for you. But this is this is the dirtiest thing that I drink, and it has nothing in it, but it does have that terrible little moniker under the ingredients. It says other natural flavors. So it says carbonated water and other natural flavors. So I drank this because I ran out of San Pellegrino, and my mom drinks this, and this is one of the healthier things. But yeah, pretty much, I have only had that San Pellegrino or other just plain sparkling waters, and then tap water for the last 16 months, and that's how I prefer it.
Right, brilliant. So, and teas, coffees, do you do anything of that nature? None at
Yeah.
all?
Nope, none at all. My biggest addiction was to soda, even the diet soda. And that's why this is when I found this stuff. So for 5 weeks, I made a lemon drink out of this. I would take this lime bubbly. I'd put volcanic organic uh, lemon juice in it, and I would use a little bit of liquid stevia. And I did that for 5 weeks. That was all I drank. Then I was able to get off that and go to water. But then I noticed, hey, I'm not using any caffeine. I had accidentally kicked the caffeine habit, so I have not wanted to get back to it because I've had so much more energy and I felt so good that I never went back to coffee or tea because I used to drink it all the time. So now that I'm off caffeine, I'm not in a hurry to ever get back on the caffeine habit again.
See, I dropped coffee at first, but I've introduced it back. But I tend to have coffee with butter. Although I saw through the UK Carnivore group that I'm a member of, someone making cream, butter, and hot water, and I actually found that quite pleasant as well. But again, if you've got the dairy issue, then that's not
Well,
going to be for you.
and then that's fine, but especially if it gets you off it. And a lot of people don't have that, but Coach Rochelle at the SBG gang, she uses like collagen powder, beef broth, and cream, and makes a hot drink in the morning that she substituted for coffee. And it looks amazing, and she loves it. And because people just want that warm kind of
Yeah,
little feel good with that quick
yeah,
fat in the morning, you know?
yeah. Because I
Oh,
sometimes put I
I
make
just
myself.
I'm gonna
Sorry.
holler out to Scott because Scott's leaving. Hey, Carnivore Scott, I appreciate you coming in. Sorry I didn't see you there, but everybody go check out Carnivore Scott's channel. He's got an awesome channel. Thank you so much for popping in.
Hi there, Scott. Nice to thank you for joining us. Much appreciated. On my routine, sometimes I put bone broth and I put brown butter in with the bone broth, and it gives you that kind of that caramelly,
Yeah.
meaty taste, which I find very good. But I find I can only drink 1 or 2 cups of that because it makes me want to think of Mars bars and rubbish. So we don't really want that.
Shout out to Carnivore Keith NZ. He's got an awesome YouTube channel. He just started. Keith's got an amazing story. He lost a bunch of weight too. He's a Kiwi in New Zealand. Hint: his nickname is Kiwi Daddy. He loves it when we call him that. So let him know Big T sent you and call him Kiwi Daddy. He'll love it.
Yeah, I started following Keith as well. So top guy. So any more questions, guys? Fire questions in because Todd is fully loaded here. He's a star.
I don't know about that, but I definitely have a lot of hot air dish spreads. So
Well, I was going to put out to the listeners is what would be their one thing you couldn't live without on the carnivore side? Either it's the bit in the naughty side or the good side. Give us some sort of comments so we can discuss that. And same with you, Todd. What's the one thing you couldn't live without?
I mean, this is cliche, but it's ribeye for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
just I love ribeye. I mean, there's nothing a perfectly cooked ribeye, especially smoked and seared ribeye. Man, is that good?
there's a good comment just come out. I just want to highlight this one about fluoride being in certain drinks because I found since I've been on Carnivore, within a couple of months, I stopped using toothpaste.
right?
And as you can see, I've got fairly white teeth, and my
Yep.
teeth actually have got whiter by just using water and a toothbrush. So,
Well,
I
this
mean, what's your view
this
on this?
I'm really happy that you put this up here. So here I'm about to, and I can't believe I'm gonna do this because it's just like, oh, how much stuff am I gonna give up? I'm about to stop drinking carbonated water altogether for 3 months and see how it feels. The reason why is my brother's carnivore, but he's he's healing up from MS, and so he's got some autoimmune function things. But he gets dizzy when he drinks Perrier, San Pellegrino, any of the sparkling waters. And I
Wow.
thought it was just him. I thought it was something else. Not couldn't be the sparkling water. But then his son started drinking it, and his son got dizzy from the sparkling water.
Oh,
So he said, "Man, it's the dizziness." And I have had spells of dizziness off and on that I didn't used to have since I've been doing it. And so John's brought that to my attention. So I'm about to stop because I think there's something in the sparkling water that's causing us to get dizzy, and I don't know what it is. So I'm going to stop it for 90 days. I don't get dizzy every day, but just like this morning when I got up, I just sat up quick and the whole world was spinning. However, I'm on a fast, and that's not totally, totally weird when you're on a fast. If you get up too quick, sometimes the room will spin. So, but it's happened enough lately, even when I'm not on a fast, and I was making excuses for it, like, oh, maybe I'm oxalate dumping or whatever. But now it's time to find out and eliminate the sparkling water. So starting next month, I'm eliminating sparkling water for 90 days, and I'm going to see, because I feel like you got to give 90 days to anything if you're going to really test it.
so if you're going to do it properly, then take a picture using the same camera and monitor either fortnightly or monthly, and then see if you can do it, because that way you've got the intermental sort of progress, if there is progress and whatever. So
Absolutely. Well, I was going to practice. Like the reason why I'm not doing it right away, because I'm now counting down how many days when I sit up that I'm dizzy. And I sound stupid, right? But I'm trying to get, this is a random, it's a moving target. So
yeah,
I'm trying to figure out a baseline of how dizzy I really am, because I haven't paid that, because it's not a life-changing thing. It's just
yeah.
5 seconds of dizziness. But I'm sitting up fast on purpose to see if I get dizzy. And then if I do, I'm writing it down so that in the 90 days, I'm going to try to match that same speed that I sit up and try to write it down and see if I get dizzy after I get rid of it. So,
Okay, because the other thing you've got to take into account is, as your body shift is happening, your balance is being affected, because your middle ear is working on your current size and stature. And if you then go in 3 weeks' time lose another 40 odd pounds, your body's having to readjust again. So you've got to take that into consideration as well.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. And especially because, like I said, I've lost like 40 pounds in the last 21 days. So, for sure. Yeah. And exactly. I love Eric Berg. I think I'm going to get to go meet him when we're at Hack Your Health. So I'm looking forward to that. And I know he's a keto guy, but I kind of started this journey watching him. And I think he's
Yeah.
got good information, but that's why I also didn't suspect it either. But I am dizzy. My brother's dizzy, and now his son. So I'm going to definitely be checking into it, and I'll report back with you guys and let you know. Let's see, what will that be? May, June, July. So beginning of August, I'll know how I did. So I'm gonna do a little report on it.
Okay, cool. That's excellent. Someone else has put another interesting comment up here. Found out that carbonated water. So I'd never thought about this about carbonated water. This is all new to me, and It's weird because when I was on my normal American standard British diet, whichever you want to call it, I hated sparkling water because I thought it tasted like dried
So
up
bitter.
paracetamol.
Yeah, so bitter.
And then I loved still water. And then since I went on Carnivore, I thought, well, I want the extra minerals. Perhaps I'll try it. And suddenly found it really refreshing and enjoyable. And
Me
now
too.
I'm reading this. You're breaking my heart, guys.
Trust me, you're killing me. Okay, I drink so much. I get the 25 ounce, 750 milliliter glass bottle San Pellegrinos at Costco, and I drink like, well, that's another thing to go into. I was drinking about 12 to 15 of those a day. Big, a ton, like 2.5 gallons a day. But
Wow.
when and which was a problem, right? Because that was my only addiction that I had left. I was hammering those things and I was peeing all the time, but I was addicted to them. But what I found out was when I started upping the fat, now I will only drink about 3 of those a day. So it's like next to like a fraction. And that went when I started taking the fat. I talked to Sean Baker about it yesterday, in fact, and I asked him, I'm like, what is the deal with that? And he said that the can't remember exactly the answer he gave me, but basically the components in fat help you balance your electrolytes much better. So if you're under eating fat, your electrolytes are going to be out of balance and you're going to be thirsty. And so that I think is what was causing that, because I literally went from drinking 200 to 300 ounces of water a day to drinking 30 to 60 ounces of water a day. So it's crazy.
Right.
But I'm right there with you. It's my favorite splurge every day, because you can have it if you're fasting, you can have it if you're eating, you can have it anytime, and it's my only thing I have left that I really enjoy. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe I'm cutting this out.
But there is also a danger, which I probably suffered when I first did it, is drinking too much water, because you start peeing out some of the electrolytes or the salts that you need, because you're
Absolutely,
flushing your system too well. So there's that balancing act of finding that right level. So
for sure. And now I feel that I'm finally there too, for sure.
yeah. So I think that's that's a point of view. I'm no doctor or scientist, so I wouldn't know. That's all part of the learning stage for me on there. So
Me too.
so Todd, if someone wanted to get into the carnivore, what would be your advice? I always ask all the guests this one. So I went into it day one, bang, did it. Did have a little bit of keto flu or carnivore flu, whichever you want to call it. Had interesting times with my digestive system and toilet visits, etc. But leveled out within about 2 weeks, and then went from strength to strength. But I personally wouldn't say to people fly into it like I did. So what would you suggest?
I was going to say the same thing. So in my mind, I feel like I flew into it. But then what happened is I've been so successful in carnivore. And I don't just mean all the stuff that healed's been great and the weight's been great, but my real measure of success is the fact that I don't have an eating problem anymore and I have no addictions. So that to me is success, because everything else is going to pan out. Like I still have a couple 100 pounds to lose or whatever. I'm not worried about it at all, because I no longer eat bad foods. I no longer have an addiction to sugar or any carbohydrates or seed oils, and I have no draw to eating any of that bad stuff. I love what I eat. So I know that the rest is a matter of time. So I'm saying that because we've tried to help people that are similar, 5, 6, 700 pounds. I've been trying to help them, and they fall
Mhm.
off very, very quickly a lot of times. And I've only had like a couple people so far that are really holding on to it and being successful and having the freedom. So I tried to backward engineer how did I get here? Like, what did I really do? Because even though when we did it, I wasn't totally conscious of everything that I was doing that was helping versus what was hurting me and how I got here. So the reason why I say that is because I was up and down on keto for 2.5 years before I found carnivore. I used to completely dismiss that. And I used to say that keto was a complete failure and that carnivore was what got me over the top. But now I'm realizing, after trying to help people that hadn't done keto try to jump directly into carnivore, that they're really struggling. I was primed in a way and kind of conditioned to be really ready to make the jump through the ups and downs through keto. And I feel like maybe you might have had the same thing, because I feel like, didn't you say you did some keto too?
Yeah. I tried vegan, the whole side of it. So I did suffer badly
Right.
with the headache and the sluggishness. And
So me and you might have been in different boats, because if you were able to do vegan and stuff, you probably had more control over like you were probably a little less compulsive than I was. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
but
Maybe.
I did vegan because everyone was telling me to do it, and I was hungry the whole time, and I hated
Okay.
it. So it wasn't for me.
So I don't know. I don't know exactly how much keto helped me to get here and why. I'm just saying I would like to say that I used to think in my head that I just jumped straight into carnivore, but I really didn't, because I first stopped drinking calories, and then I went to the high protein, low fat deal, and I was being real restrictive for 14 months. And then I went to keto, and that actually I was unrestricted because I was eating the junk and going up and down. But one thing I was doing is I wasn't eating when I was still limiting my carbohydrates, and I was eating more protein, even on the bad keto. So that did have an effect. And I think it did kind of ease me into it. So I'm going to say I've changed my stance on that. I think people might have to ease into it a little bit, especially after being part of the SBG and seeing how people have oxalate problems and people can have histamine problems, and it can be real hard on them. That one thing that I do or that I see people do that works is that if they use cheese as a crutch and they eat their way through it and prime through it, and that gets them through. So I would say ease into it. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't assume because you had a bad day and you fell off that you're failing. It's not a failure. You know, if you do 2 days of carnivore or ketovore, and then you fall off for a day, that's not ideal. And you're wanting to get better, but you're also just starting out, and it's better than eating 2 days or 3 days of standard American diet unfettered. And at least you're thinking about it. But so don't be too hard on yourself, but have the plan to go super elimination. So I think the thing that really set me apart from some people that are struggling or having a hard time getting there is I eliminated everything, even seasonings, even black pepper. And I got rid of it. I let my body heal. And then I add things in one at a time to see what kind of effect it's going to have on me. And if it's got a bad effect on me, I write that off forever. It's just gone. That's no longer ever going to be in my wheelhouse. I'm not doing it. But I could have never known that, and I could have never felt the freedom that I had until I just basically ate beef, butter, bacon, eggs, and salt and water. That was what it took. And now I'm free. And so you can ease into it, but you need to have a goal and a game plan, and don't make this take years and just float. You need to have a target, a plan, and you need to get there as soon as possible. You have to make it sustainable to get there, but then get there and hold it and let yourself really get free from the carb addiction and the sugar addiction. And then it's easy going. Like, this is the easiest thing in the world for me now.
Yeah, well, I've always said we are living our own human experiment on ourselves through this diet. And the other thing I say to people, if you do fall off the wagon slightly, there are no carnivore police. You're not going to be grabbed from your house because you ate a sweet, And the final point I like to make is I always look at when people are struggling, I say to the carnivore diet, it's a 1-day diet. Just eat carnivore for 1 day, go to sleep, wake up and do it for 1 day. Go back to sleep later, wait and do it. It's that easy. You don't have to think, oh my God, I've got weeks and months of doing this. So there's a couple of comments. There's clearly something in this sparkling water, because you're not alone with this situation. So that I'm finding that quite intriguing, because I had vertigo from doing my judo days and all that, and then funny enough on Carnivore I've had the odd dizzy spell. So I'm just wondering now, am I thinking it's vertigo or is it something else? So
You want to do a 90-day challenge with me?
I'm getting tempted. I'm telling you what, I think that could be a challenge I'll have to take there. So it'd
be fun. We could just set up a WhatsApp group or whatever, and whoever, that way we could, because the more data the better, right? We can actually figure this out.
You're on. I'm in. Right, we'll do that. We'll set that up. All right. So
yeah, especially for anybody that's in here, you can email me or you can email Carl. I'm at thecarnivorecure@gmail.com. Send us emails and we'll set up like a Discord or WhatsApp group if you want in, and we'll start the first of next month. So the 1st of May, we'll start. And then because if you're having dizzy spells and you're wondering and you're drinking carbonated water, if you want in more data, the better, right? To find out if this works.
Absolutely. So we've got a question here. What was the most challenging addiction and what did you do to beat it? I think you have probably touched upon it.
By far soda. Yeah. Soda was the worst addiction I had. Soda was by far worse than nicotine. Soda was by far worse than the gambling. The number 2 would be gambling. Soda was number 1. Soda was the worst addiction by a long shot. And I had to make that, I had to be BBB&E and get rid of all the other crap, but drink the lemon juice that I made. And it took 5.5 weeks. And then I had this insatiable thirst for water, switched over to that, and I never went back. And that's been almost 16 months now, and I'm free from it. And I
So,
prayed a lot, for sure.
okay. So Keith's put in here that, like me, he went like a bull out of the gate. So yeah, we say bull in the china shop here. So he obviously had other indications in there. So I do think if I was to do it again, I would have done it a bit more gradual, and probably a bit more controlled, as you say, elimination and then reintroduction scenario. So I think that's a valid point.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
an
also want to
interesting.
make a shout out too, and this is insulin and insulin resistance. Vertigo is linked to insulin. That could definitely be it too, for sure.
I hadn't considered that. I just put it down. I had vertigo years ago, and I've just got it back. But actually, now thinking perhaps there is something in this.
Yeah, for sure. But I want to give a shout out too when you're talking about how to start carnivore, and I'm gonna like full transparency. I am an admin at the Steak and Butter Gang. I do not
Yeah.
get paid to be there. They did give me my free. Now I have a free subscription to there, so I get to go there for free. It was $30 a month to join US, but I don't make any money for saying this. But I would recommend joining the Steak and Butter Gang if you're new to carnivore, because it is I think it's the biggest carnivore help group support group online, and it's just incredible. Keith is there, Lindy's there, I'm there, and several people that are in this chat right now are all part of the Steak and Butter Gang, and the support that it gives you for $1 a day to go in there. And when you're having an issue, they do 5 to like 8 Zoom calls every week, and you can post your questions in the comments on the event page, and you can also raise your hand if there's enough time. They have doctors like Chafee and Baker and everybody in there. So to me, I didn't do that. I didn't get there until I was 7 months into carnivore, and I thought I don't need a stinking group. And then I went in there. I was like, oh, this is fantastic. What was I thinking? Because I learned so much in there. It's just incredible. So I would definitely hop in there because it would have saved me so much trouble. I wouldn't have changed my metabolism if I was in there. I went there and they fixed my metabolism after the damage I did to it for 7 months.
Yeah. So who would you say are the biggest influences for you? Then you've mentioned a few names. Who would be the influences that's probably set you up the most?
In this order: Gary Taub, Dr. Robert Lusting, and then Dr. Ken Berry, and then Sean Baker too, and then Joe Rogan, and also Jordan Peterson. Those are my Hall of Famers.
Yeah, the Jordan Peterson interview with Joe Rogan was the thing that made me think, hang on, there's something in this. So
yeah, I mean, in my opinion, Jordan Peterson is the smartest man alive, and he's doing lion diet. So it's like, yeah.
Okay, so there's a comment about the your Steak and Butter Gang. So it shows it's not just you saying it's a genuine.
I know. I promote it so much that people think that I'm like I have an affiliate link or I'm getting paid. I'm not. I just love that place because I love that it's a place that I can send people that have all the questions. Everybody has 500 questions when you first start, and it's like so hard, but there's 75 to 300 people in each Zoom call that are all going through the same things you're going through, that have all either gone through it or just hitting it, or they went through it a year ago. And everybody, it's such a good think tank and such a good database to give answers. And all of these people, they don't have a bias, right? They're not selling anything. They don't have any reason to bullcrap you. They're all just trying to get their health back. And they're like, yep, I ran through that. And this is what I did. And with enough of those people, you can see what the clear answer is, because all the commonalities come and it raises to the top. And you're like, let me try that. And it works. There's so many things for me that work like that.
So a major influencer for me was Professor David Diamond, with his looking at the so-called medical reports and claims and then pulled them apart. And now I think he's someone that's, if no one knows him, he's someone well worth seeing some of his posts. So
and Chafee too. Chafee's right up in that alley too. He's really good at the medical reports.
Chafee's the king of plants are trying to kill you, aren't they? So
he's a little intense for sure, but I do like that he does do his research though.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with him. He's a big lad.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, we've been going an hour and a half now. Are you still okay for time? So I know you've got to do something with your dog. So
I've got 25 minutes.
Okay. So So please fire any more questions, guys, if you want. We've got loads of comments, but obviously it'd be good to get some more questions in.
Yeah.
So Todd, we were talking earlier, because one of the things I'd be interested in part of my study is you've been a large person through the vast majority of your life. And you did talk, I think we spoke before, about your bone density, because obviously big people have this, side of it. Are you getting it measured, or have you planning to have it measured? What's your...
Yeah, on May 30th, me and no, sorry. It's May 31st. Me and Limitless Lindy are getting a DEXA scans in Texas at Hack Your Health. And then I will be able to report how much crap I'm made of exactly, because it's going to tell me how much bone I'm made of, how much fat, how much muscle, how much vascular tissue, all that stuff. So I could see it, because people always guess my weight about 100 to 125 pounds lighter than I am.
Yeah.
And I think it's just from carrying 600 pounds since I was so young and going, kind of developing through puberty and stuff so heavy. I think is what happened. So it's just a theory, but I'm gonna prove it. And I'm either basically, it's the density argument for calling myself big boned instead of fat. So it's either that or I'm on to something. So I'm gonna find out.
Okay, and you doing any other measures and investigatory work?
Lots of stuff. We're going to get blood work done. I'm going to see if what's healed on my testosterone. I'm going to get a full panel. Plus, I'd like to get an echocardiogram to see what my fraction, what do you call that? The pumping fraction rate or whatever, your heart for the congestive heart failure. I'd like to see that. I want to see the numbers. I didn't really totally finish, but when that doctor told me, that cardiologist told me he was worried about my diet, I kind of lost my crap, and I told him I was worried about his brain. I thought he needed medical help, and I fired him. So I haven't been back to the doctor since that day. So I have no idea. This is everything that I say is better is just me personally feeling better and not taking the medicine. And, the only thing is I've been able to measure are oxygen levels and heart rate and those things. But I don't have any of the tightness in my chest. When I used to have congestive heart failure, I used to have that artery that would go between your lungs and your heart. I'd feel that always tighten up on me all the time. I'd have heart palpitations, skip beats, and all this crap. Don't have any of that anymore. So I'm assuming that all that's gone. And also I don't have, a ridiculous amount of fluid retention. I still have a tiny bit, but I had nothing, maybe 5% of what it used to be. But I want to see it on numbers. And Ken Berry said he would read my numbers for me. And so I want to make a video of Ken Berry and see if he'll go through my before and after on my blood work and my echocardiograms and all that. I'd love to do that with him and see if I'd just love it to be a big elbow drop to the medical community that says this is all bad,
No, that's all very good. Got another question here. Obviously back on the fasting subject now. So what is the longest you should fast in the early days? What state do you need to be at before you go the bloody hell, 30-day plus fast? You lot are nutters.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, to me, it's like you have to know your body. So I don't know where you're at, and that answer is going to be so different for everybody else. But I would not, first of all, one of the common things, because people hear that I'm fasting and they're like, I've been carnivore 2 weeks. I think I'm going to fast next week. No. Do not fast until you are completely carb addiction free. Like if you're still craving carbs, you're not healed, right? You're not primed, you're not healed. You need to not be having too much cravings and they say don't white knuckle a fast. Like if so many people they're like, oh man, I fell off, 2 weeks ago, but I'm back on for 10 days. So now I'm going to fast. It's like, no, at first you got to eat your way through all the addiction. You got to eat your way through. And I mean, that means dairy too. Like if you're having a hard time eating enough food because it's satiating, this is where the dairy does have a superpower. At first, when you're trying to prime and you don't have the appetite for meat and you get meat aversion or you get palate fatigue, eat that dairy because that dairy will bump up your appetite and then you'll eat more meat and it's all fat and protein anyway. So, I mean, yeah, it's got a little bit of milk sugars in it, but it's way better than anything else you're doing. So eat that and then eat your way through the feelings. One thing that I did was I kept waking up early on when I was first doing carnivore. And my mind, I was just in a just a pit of anxiety. My mind was freaking out, and I mean, I would wake up and it was like I was having a conversation with myself, and my mind was saying, "This is stupid. You can't do this forever. Nobody could just eat meat for forever. This is just another failed, stupid diet that, like all the last ones. You're not going to keep doing this. Just give up. Just eat sugar today. Go get a pizza. You feel like crap, you know." And it just like it was literally my head was just going off, and I would just be full of anxiety, and I felt like I couldn't face the day. And I came up with a protocol, and because my friend was DoorDash, I would order a pizza. I had that thing on speed dial, and I could have a large pizza and a large wings here in 20 minutes, you know? And so what I did was is I made a deal with myself that I could order whatever I wanted, whatever junk food I wanted. But before I did it, I had to eat bacon and eggs until I was stuffed and give it 1 hour. And that was the thing that kind of freed me, was eating through there. And I would eat a bunch of bacon and eggs until I couldn't eat another bite, and then that anxiety and that craziness would go away. And it was just a carb addiction withdrawals happening, right? It was just withdrawals, and that would go away. And that, but I had to eat my way through it. So I didn't start fasting again until I was free from all the addiction and I didn't have any problems with cravings anymore. Even then, I was still undernourished and I had a hard time fasting, but at least, so basically, long story short, if you're going to fast, and don't do it until you're free from carb addiction. And then once you do it, if it gives you cravings, or if you have brain fog, or if it's giving you anxiety or depression or any of that stuff, then you're not ready and you got to keep priming. So that's the answer to that, basically.
Okay, and the question, sort of a follow on from that, is that do you agree you need to be in ketosis, being able to use ketosis before you fast? So
It would
keto,
help. It would help because being in ketosis is more proof positive that you're more fat adapt, and you're going to need to run on something if you're not putting in dietary fuel. So you need to be fat adapt, and it's, you know, fat adaptation is not only evidence that your body is able to burn fat as fuel, but is that it's able to get to it with a compromised lymphatic system. So because there's a few barriers of entry there to get to that stored fuel, which is another reason, for whatever reason, that vinegar does a lot for me. I feel like vinegar has helped that process for me. So, but yes, you should be in some kind of ketosis before you start. And so I would highly recommend, I wouldn't have said this 3 months ago, but I would highly recommend eating at least a 2-to-1 fat to protein ratio before you try to fast too, and see yourself in ketosis. And then that'll be a good, good indicator that you're going to do well. So,
okay, that's a very valid point. So, yeah, because it was interesting because I noticed that the best time I was losing weight or body fat was when I was eating more fat than anything else. And it got to the point I craved the fat more than I did. And I think it's Dr. Kiltz. He thinks it shouldn't be carnivore; it should be fativore or something. He says, you know. And I do find that if I, for whatever reason, if I'm low on the fat side of it, the following day I'm not sluggish, but I just feel that I'm not at that prime position sometimes. So I think the fat is a major influence for me. So you say 2-to-1 to fat, yeah?
yep, 2-to-1 is my favorite. So I try to do, I'm not super active, so I'm trying to do about 0.75 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass. So I'm trying to eat roughly what I project my lean body mass is. This is another reason I'm going to be happy to know with my DEXA scan what my lean body mass
Yeah,
is, so that I can
yeah.
dial this in. But right now I'm doing 0.75 grams of protein per lean body mass, and I'm going up from there. And then so I'm eating basically about 150 grams of protein, but I'm eating 300 grams of fat. And so, but also, just so you guys know, when I do stuff, I don't drink the rendered fat that comes out of the meat, because that gives me, it doesn't anymore, but it used to give me the runs, and now I've gotten used to not drinking it. So I figure that I'm only getting half as much fat as whatever my macros work out. So let's say ribeye says that it's got about 6 grams of fat per ounce of ribeye. I count it as 3. and then it's got 5 grams of protein per ounce. So I know I need 10 grams of fat per ounce. So I add in 7 grams of tallow per 1 ounce of red meat to get the 2-to-1 ratio, and that's how I eat it. So
Okay. So a slightly sidestep here, the question, because I'm fortunate, I live in Britain and I have the NHS. So if I have issues, I can go to the NHS. I can go private as well, but I can go to the NHS. When you're a carnivore and you're a known carnivore in the States, does that cause you issues with your insurance? I don't know quite how it works, because my interpretation of the American health system is you have to have insurance to get the level of treatment that you could do with.
I mean, yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, you can just do it and be in debt, which I didn't have insurance, but I do know that no, I mean, we're pretty free here to do what we want to do with that, but your doctor can refuse treatment and stuff. So it depends. It's a catch 22. I have too much of a, I don't know. Maybe sometimes I sacrifice battles to win wars because I get mad. But you could also just tell your doctor that you're doing everything that they tell you that they tell you to do. Oh yeah, I'm eating standard American diet, really cutting it, and then just go like, if I have a problem, that's all I do, and I just don't tell them what I'm doing. And I go there saying, hey, I need blood work and I want to see these numbers. And they might say why, and I come up with an excuse. Or you can just go to ownyourlabs.com here and you can order them yourself. But I just lie to them, and because I know what they want to hear. So I'll tell them what they want to hear so that they're kind of, I'm not saying this to everybody. I know there's good doctors out of there, but some of you are useful idiots, and I will use that to my advantage to get the test that I need. And so just do that. Just fluff their feathers. Say, oh gosh, your drugs are working great. I lost 300 pounds on your drugs. Good job, doc. Hey, can I have these tests?
Let's just hope they don't go onto YouTube too often if you keep appearing on it. So
they wouldn't dare listen to this channel because they're too smart for this. They're not going to listen to anybody talk from YouTube University.
We're tinfoil hat wearing type of people, aren't we? So Dutch Carnivore just made some comment about the fasting, about taking it, so maybe the beginning you could try it was faster. Okay. Yep, that makes a valid point. And then I love this. He's called it the
Pro tip, I changed out my sardines for cans of cod livers. So cod livers are way better omega-3. So just pro tip, try they taste basically like sardines, but way better omega-3s.
Okay. Because and Dutch Carnivore's just come up with the same comment, because obviously I've never heard of the grizzly bear lifestyle, and I quite like the principle. But I call that the sea lion diet, because if it's fish involved as well, and it's just a better way, because grizzly makes it sound like we're grumpy old gits or whatever. And
they were eating berries.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, and Dutch Carnivore agrees with the sea lion. I'm conscious of time, Todd.
Yeah, no worries. We got time.
Miss your point. So I'm quite happy if everyone else is happy to wrap up now. And I've absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. I've learned a lot. I've now talked myself into doing a non-carbonated water. So what is it? 60 days or 90 days we're doing?
Do everything in 90 days. I just feel like for me, I never really knew until 90 days. I feel like that's the good, solid get through it. I just did lion diet for 90 days. And so I don't know. I feel like that's important, because it drives me nuts when I see these influencers. They say, I did carnivore for 2 weeks and this is what's wrong with it. And I'm like, oh, go off.
Yeah. I did the lion diet just after Christmas in the new year, and I did it a month, and I enjoyed it and I got some benefits, but it didn't tick the box for me. So
it didn't for me either. But so what I found out is I don't miss butter, I don't miss bacon, but I do miss eggs and salmon. So I'm gonna do lion with eggs and salmon. That's what my diet is now, and that's what's gonna stay. Is lion diet plus eggs and salmon.
Okay, cool. So I should actually have got him on screen, really, because the number of questions he's asked, and that he could have been one of the participants in this. So do appreciate that, metabolic paramedic. I am going to wrap up now, guys. So, Todd, I can't thank you enough. I'd love to do something again. Well, we've got 90 days stuck together now to do this progress. So
let's do it.
So I appreciate everyone that's joined us and watched, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Sorry about the false start. That was my technical error, but I'm still very much learning about this.
No worries. I wanted to give
closing, Todd.
Yeah, one shout out to, we do a really fun show for anybody that's interested, or especially if you have a kind of a real serious weight problem. We do a show on Sundays, every Sunday live. It's 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time in the US, but it's called 700 Plus and Counting Down with Michael and the amazing Limitless Lindy. And it's all about, helping people lose, that are really stuck, and kind of getting people that are kind of hiding in the shadows because they feel like they're too big to be helped. And so we want to get that message out there. And if you guys would support that show, we'd sure appreciate it.
Right, brilliant. So we'll say good night, everybody. Have a great weekend and keep carnivoring.